What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with some brand new Destiny 2 and Season of Dawn news. So we have got a bunch of patch note previews for a lot of the kind of adjustments, major game updates and quality of life stuff, and that does include exotic drop rate buffs. We've got some new sandbox details and previews, as well as changes to Eververse, information about the new power level for Season of Dawn, seasonal content warnings, and Bungie even give us a few details about the launch schedule and the update for next week. But we're also going to talk about some of the new loot tables and weapons that we'll be able to pick up inside of Season of Dawn. So guys, as always, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do, a rating below is very much appreciated. But now let's get straight into it. Initially, it does look like we are going to be getting a bunch of previews for some of the subclass and sandbox changes we'll be getting next week. And Bungie do show off some pretty cool clips. So firstly, we've got the new knife for the Hunter. It's going to allow that one-hit precision final blow in PvP, and also comes with some pretty cool animations right there. On top of this, there is the explosive prox knife, which behaves very much like a sticky grenade. You can see the player doubles up with a grenade and a knife right there for that devastating detonation when the enemy passes by. And then we see the new knock 'em down bonus, where precision final blows increase weapon stability. It comes with a timer starting at 10 seconds, but you can increase that timer up to 25 seconds. And casting your super with the buff above 20 seconds consumes it and grants extra damage. We can see the second shot right there produces quite a bit more damage than the first, and pretty much deletes that walker on sight. So those are just the previews for the Hunter, and of course we'll get more for the Warlock and the Titan, I'm sure. But now let's get into the Bungie update stuff. So next week, alongside Season of Dawn, we'll be getting a bunch of quality of life changes in update 2.7.0. And so for rewards, initially, this is just a preview and we will get the full patch notes on Tuesday, but they have increased the drop rate of the Scourge of the Past raid exotic weapon from 5 to 10%. So Anarchy is seeing that exotic drop buff. The exotic Engram and fated Engram have been collapsed into a single new exotic Engram item, and when opened, it will award a new exotic if any remain to be collected, but otherwise, it contains a random piece of exotic armor. They do say that the contents will still be class specific, so just a couple of changes to exotic drops specifically in the game right there. And of course that will affect the Engram that you pick up from Xur as well. A lot of folks were curious about a power level increase for Season of Dawn because Bungie didn't talk about it in the stream, but the powerful cap is being increased to 960, up from 950 of course, and the pinnacle cap will go up to 970, so pretty small jump of 10 power for each of those right there. But of course in general, it will mean that players can quite a bit more easily get close to power level 1000 and things like that. And of course by next season, that's going to become even more obtainable. Oh yeah, before we talk any more about patch notes, because Bungie don't talk about it specifically in the TWAB, DMG did confirm that there will be a ritual weapon on Vanguard, Crucible, and Gambit next season. And so while we're not getting a specific preview right now, we at least get confirmation that that is going to be a thing, but we'll have to discover those weapons on Tuesday when the content actually drops. Back to the patch notes. For Escalation Protocol, the Wave 7 chest will no longer require a key to open, and can be opened upon every successful clear of Wave 7. Every time you open the chest, it'll award one piece of Escalation Protocol armor for your character until you have the full set. And so that's definitely a pretty big change to how they drop, especially if you want to collect that stuff in Armor 2.0 variants. And they say after a full set is acquired, subsequent opening of the chest will award a random piece of armor. On top of this, charged decryption keys and fragments are being removed from the game, and the items will be removed from player inventories as well. And then armory keys to spawn Valkyrie javelins are still going to be a thing, but EP weapon drops were also not touched. So let us know your thoughts on those changes. But for weapon mods, the cost of slotting a weapon mod has been reduced from 5,000 glimmer to 500 glimmer. And that's definitely a positive change, of course, as Bungie encourage us to use different kind of seasonal weapon mods. And so we'll no longer be burning glimmer on that. But they've also fixed an issue where Ada 1 could grant duplicate weapon mods from the inventory. For bounties, repeatable bounties have been added to the Gunsmith. So we've got even more options there. They've merged the Strike, Crucible, and Gambit objectives on the Gunsmith weekly bounty field calibration into a single objective that shares progress from all sources, so it's going to make that one a bit easier to get done. And then they have removed Valor and Infamy and Vanguard tokens from the field calibration bounty, as there is no longer a requirement for any of these linked activities. But they've added a new mode-specific daily Crucible bounty, reduced the completion requirements of several daily and repeatable Crucible bounties, and removed grenade and melee bounties from the Crucible bounty repeatable pool. So some pretty positive adjustments right there to bounties in general. But then they throw a few additional sandbox adjustments our way. So for the Striker's code of the missile, of course the middle path with Thunder Crash, they've increased base damage from 2700 to 3200, increased the in-flight damage from 100 to 200, and slightly increased the amount of time you have in the air after activation. And so with that one needing a little bit of love, it definitely sounds positive, but they do feel like quite arbitrary numbers before you can actually see what it means in the game. So we'll see how that one pans out, but for the Night Stalker's Way of the Pathfinder, for Vanish and Smoke, they've added a short period of 0.8 seconds after the invisibility is applied, where firing weapons or performing other actions will not break invisibility. This should help prevent allies from accidentally breaking invisibility the moment it's granted to them, if it's unexpected. So that sounds like a positive adjustment. And for the Middle Path Voidwalker and handheld Supernova, they've adjusted the grenade charge time so that it lines up with the animations and effects, and this should make it feel more consistent to activate. And so let us know your thoughts on any of those adjustments there. Finally, in the patch note previews, for Crucible maps, they've added Rusted Lands. They've also added the Dead Cliffs, Legion's Gulch, Retribution, and Solitude to appropriate playlists. And being removed from the pool next season will be Emperor's Respite, Equinox, Firebase Echo, and Vostok from all Crucible playlists. They'll still be available in private matches, but otherwise they're essentially going to be going away and I presume will be reworked and then introduced later on again. And so that is our patch note preview for update 2.7.0, which is going to drop on Tuesday. Now though, Bungie talk a little bit about Eververse, and they say for silver-only content, offering some amount of Eververse content for silver only is part of ensuring that we're able to fund our ability to keep creating and maintaining Destiny and supporting the team that makes Destiny. That said, we agree with you that we'd also like to see a higher ratio of items that will also be available for Bright Dust. And by the end of Season of Undying, around 50% of Eververse content will have been offered for Bright Dust. But in Season of Dawn, we're going to make around 80% of all Eververse content available for Bright Dust at some point during the season. We've also heard you say that you want to know what will be offered for silver only so that you can plan what you're interested in buying, and we plan to share on social media every week which items will be available for silver only during the season as they appear on the Eververse store. And so Bungie may look to kind of introduce that as an in-game mechanic at some point, but actually I'd say that on the whole that sounds like a pretty good recognition of those two pieces of feedback. And especially the silver one is one that we spoke about quite a bit here, so it's definitely a positive change. When it comes to the Bright Dust economy though, of course they recognise that they changed this in Season of Undying. And in Season of Dawn, all dawning weekly and repeatable bounties will award Bright Dust in quantities equal to the amount awarded from Strike, Crucible and Gambit bounties. So that's 200 per weekly and 10 per repeatable bounty, and they say that Crimson Days will do the same for weekly bounties only, as this event does not include repeatable bounties. And so in the short term, some of those events are actually going to improve the Bright Dust economy quite a bit potentially. And of course that works if those events are sticking around and people actually want to play them, but there is also potential that Bungie could continue to make adjustments down the road. They say on top of this that they've introduced a mechanic where the Eververse store no longer permits purchasing an item that you already have in your collection. And so basically they're putting in a mechanic where you can't waste any currency on buying something that you've already got, and that's definitely a very good thing. So initially on paper, those sound like positive Eververse changes to me, but as always, be sure to give us your thoughts down below. There is a section right here in This Week at Bungie where they talk about the Season of Undying going away and the content that will no longer be available. So we can see things like the Ariana's Vow Catalyst quest, the Season Pass rewards, Vex Offensive Match-Made Activity, Vex Invasions on the Moon, the Data Seeds from Ikora, the Seasonal Artifact, the power bonuses granted by the artifact, and season-specific triumphs, seals, and titles, so definitely bear those in mind. And finally, Destiny 2 Update 2.7.0, of course, will be dropping on Tuesday, and at 8 AM Pacific time on Tuesday, which should be 4 PM in the UK, Destiny service maintenance will begin. And they're expecting Season of Dawn and all of those services to go live at 10 AM PST, which is going to be 6 PM in the UK, so bear that in mind if you are curious about the launch schedule for Season of Dawn. Now though, let's jump in and talk about some of the weapons that we're going to see for Season of Dawn. Of course, exactly how substantial the loot tables are going to be is always a pretty important question. We know there will be a couple of different sets of legendaries and some exotics and things like that, but initially, it looks like some of the Year 1 Curse of Osiris weapons are going to be reprised in one way or another. So, via the gameplay, we can see the Infinite Paths 8, and this is the pulse rifle we originally got from the Mercury Forge. Interestingly, it's still arc, that's the same element as the original weapon, but we can see that it's got an anti-barrier mod applied to it. So it's definitely been updated in one way or another. And in terms of Curse of Osiris weapons specifically, my buddy Jarv did point out that we can also see the Jack King 3, and that was the hand cannon from the set back in Mercury being used by one of the hunters inside of the gameplay. So we know at least a couple of these weapons are going to be reprised. presumably with random rolls and all that good stuff. However, outside of those weapons, we will get these sundial-specific pieces of gear that we can pick up. And it looks like it will be a fairly comprehensive set, although we haven't spotted every single archetype that you could possibly fill there. But initially, there is the Saint 14 themed sidearm. It appears to be a kinetic burst sidearm. It's got 24 in the mag as well. There's going to be a grenade launcher, and we can see that from some of the press kit artwork. And then in Bungie's stream, there was a faster firing kinetic scout rifle, as well as a kinetic auto rifle, and these still have that same kind of Vex Saint 14 theme going on. We also do spot a new fusion rifle, as well as the Perfect Paradox itself being used. And developers did say they will have to return the weapon to Saint 14 in one form or another as part of the story. And I believe in the kind of lore it is actually associated with Saint 14's return in general. But whether in the sandbox the weapon will actually get an update, we'll have to wait and see. And so we're not sure if all of the other archetypes that we didn't see there, things like a new hand cannon, a shotgun, a bow, a sniper rifle, we haven't spotted a full suite of weapons, but of course it is entirely possible that we'll get them on release. We're just going to have to wait and see. Otherwise though, we do have the rocket launcher, and I believe an energy scout rifle that we'll be able to get from the season pass. But also via the gameplay in the Bungie stream, we did see the Symmetry exotic scout rifle. Of course, we've seen it in B-roll trailers and things like that, but we did get to spot it with 20 in the mag, so that's potentially the full mag size for the weapon there. And that is going to be the season pass exotic, but then there is the exotic fusion rifle Bastion, with a quest coming at the end of January. But before that, we will get the Devil's Ruin exotic sidearm, with another exotic quest coming on January 7th, alongside the hard mode for the Sundial. So there's potential that there will be a link there, but otherwise in terms of armor, we currently only know about the season pass drops, and probably we'll see some of those drop inside of the game mode as well. Then there are the universal ornaments that you can get from the season pass. And of course, an Eververse set will be present as well. Hopefully those weapons are going to be pretty decent and come with some pretty cool rolls on them, as well as hopefully being a pretty fleshed out loot table for the Sundial game mode itself. Just wanted to round up all of the weapons and things that we'd seen though, and otherwise for today guys, that's everything we've got to talk about in this video, so let us know all your thoughts on what we covered from the TWAB, but if you've enjoyed this one, a rating below is very much appreciated, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to get subscribed so I can keep you up to date with everything related to the game. Otherwise though, thank you as always for tuning in, and whatever you get up to, I hope you have an awesome day.